This year, I worked at the museum for 4 months. And no, I wasn't a tour guide. So, before we begin, I really want to make that clear that I don't know jack about classical artworks. I was working as a security guard, the ones you see with suits and bow ties and all. And my job was more or less just being there, warning people when they touch the artwork or try to break it for some reason. That really doesn't happen all that much, but you would be surprised how often it does in another light as well. And answer questions like where's the bathroom or the exit or where another department of the museum is. But like I said, for the most part my job was to just be there in case something happens. But here's the thing, that 4 months I spent at the museum was like around 98 or even 99% of my whole time spent in a museum, in any museum. And in that time I really got to see paintings, sculptures, ancient artifacts, modern art pieces, and even a burnt charcoal or wooden log that I for sure didn't understand what the purpose of it was. So I'm a bum in that case. The whole point of this video that you're gonna watch is I didn't understand jack about museums and really didn't see the point why they are there, like all this stuff that is there. So I'm a bum in that case. I understand that. I accept that. But what I realized in my time spending there is this one thing maybe I missed when seeing, or rather just looking at the art pieces at the museums but not really seeing them. And that happened when I really got the time to watch people in the museum. Because I seen a lot of people, thousands of visitors in the museum, and some of them were just passing by the artworks, not even looking at them maybe, or just giving just 1 second of a glance. Some people were reading everything, and I mean everything, that is written for the artwork and doing that for the whole gallery. And some people were just sitting in front of the artwork because there were conveniently many sitting places in front of the paintings. So I see a lot of different ways of approaching art pieces in a museum. I've seen kids, older people from many different places. So the point is, I've had the chance to observe many different people from many different places in every meaning. But just the way I judge from the outside. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to say, in a museum, I really got to see not only one type of people, which would be the people that are around me, but rather from all schools of life, as I remember from some place, but I hope that wording fits for the meaning I was going for. So all the different ways of people interact with artworks in a museum really made me think about how we interact with art ourselves, especially our generation, or just me, because I'm delusional and making this video. But the point of this video is to answer my question of if other people are also thinking this way, the way I did, or I am going forward. So, back to the point, when I look at that, I realize that it is very different from the way we treat anime, video games, movies, series, and all other kinds of art pieces we consume mostly in our mobile phones or through screens, really. And I wondered, why it is so different. For example, for me, the ideal way of seeing a museum is walking by art pieces, looking at them, not really reading the descriptions, just walking by. Sometimes when I see something interesting, I stop by and look at it for around a minute maybe, and then continue my tour. But like I said, I don't really understand much about art, really. When I look at the artwork, I don't see much. If I see something that strikes me as cool or interesting, that's perfect. I like that. But like other than that, I don't really understand how brush strokes work, how they make this harmony. I don't really understand it enough to appreciate it, if you can say like that. So, like I said, please consider that I'm a bum in this matter. But what I don't think I'm a bum at is other types of arts, which are movies, which are series, which are games, which are anime, comics, manga, books. And what I really like to do and what I think most of us really like to do, especially for example with a series like Attack on Titan, is to rewatch it, revisit it. Like when you watch Attack on Titan for the first time, you understand stuff, you follow the plot, you learn new things continuously, always moving forward, putting a brick on top of another brick. But when you get to the end of the series and start from the beginning once more, rewatch it, you realize that you didn't really pick up on all that much, and that there are a lot more going on that you didn't realize in your first watch. So when you end your rewatch, it is really like watching a new show. This is something that I really think about. Like, what if paintings, sculptures, and classical artworks, art pieces are like that as well? Because when I was working in the museum, what I see wasn't only people sitting in front of a painting for hours, but also people revisiting the museum the other day or the other week, but revisiting the same museum more than once, which didn't make sense to me at first. But then I realized maybe revisiting isn't just something we do or we should do in books or anime or games, but classical artworks really need that care and time as well. Because when you're looking at a big painting, for example, a size like this to this to this, I think this is a moderate painting size, there are a lot you don't see in your first look through. And like I said, because of that, when you look at the second time, you may realize an expression, you may realize a hand gesture that you didn't see in the first look through. I really like that word. So, yeah, maybe giving more time, maybe trying to understand a little bit more, maybe not just putting it aside and giving the care can make something, and in this case, and in my case, it is classical artworks, a lot more meaningful, a lot more enjoyable, a lot more seeing worthy. So maybe classical artworks, and I'm saying maybe because like I said, I wasn't really into this medium, but again, maybe classical artworks also have that depth that we just don't see or don't offer the time to see. This may also be because of how we consume art and media these days. I also made a video about media consumption. That was the last video. You can check that out as well if you want to. But like scrolling through TikTok and watching 10 videos in 1 minute or 2 minutes isn't really the same as going to a museum, sitting in front of a painting for hours. It's not gonna be the same. I get that. So maybe we really should give more time and look for the depth in these artworks as well. Because I really nowadays believe that they do offer that depth a lot. Not with plot, of course, but with layers of intention. Or as someone who really loves Bob Ross's painting motto, or his approach on art maybe, the unintentional yet happy accidents. Because even when I didn't really understand, and I still don't really understand much from art, pieces, classical artworks. I really don't know how to call them. Like I said, I still don't really understand all that much. Don't get me wrong, I'm still not that knowledgeable, or, I haven't seen all that much. But even back then, I really, really loved this thing about paintings, especially, or any artwork, really, any human creation. And that is, like Bob Ross calls it, the happy accidents, the unintended things. Even when I am making something art-worthy, hopefully, there are mistakes that I do that I end up liking, that I end up turning into something else. I think that is one of the best and most exciting parts of art, that you make mistakes. Art isn't really about perfection, in my opinion, because all that happy accidents really do lead to happy results, in my opinion. Of course, sometimes something needs to be a certain way. I get that. But, sometimes things may change, and they surely will. And another thing is, when we watch a series or a film when we're a kid, or in a certain part of our lives, maybe you were going to the school, maybe you were working, maybe you lost a dear one, and revisiting again years later in a much different statue, in a much different plane of existence, it really changes. Like, the movie changes the way you look at it, the way you see the things you get from the movie or the work, the artwork, really changes, and that is so fascinating. I really adore that, because everybody sees something a little bit different when they consume a artwork, when they look at a painting, maybe when they watch a movie. And even we experience it completely differently from ourselves from an hour ago, a day ago, a year ago, a century ago, I don't know. And that is fascinating. So revisiting isn't just about repetition. It's about seeing differently, because you are different. Your mind is in a different place, and although a painting might not change, the way your eyes and heart meet with it can. So maybe the difference between art and media isn't as big as we think it is. Maybe the distinction isn't between high culture and pop culture, but between passive looking and active seeing. And with active seeing, I think it is worth revisiting them. It is worth giving the time. It is worth sitting in front of them for hours. So another part that I really like about this whole 4 months working in a museum, is that it gave me this strange mental quiet. No notifications, no background noise, just me, the artworks, and time. And over time, especially recently, I started doing something similar outside of the museum as well. Sometimes I walk without music, sometimes I just look around or observe what it is that's happening around me right now. I look at my dad's face for a second or two longer. I try to do stuff that I normally do on autopilot more intentionally. I try to notice, to remember, to see through. 'Cause here's the thing, whether it be a great show, a film, a video game, a book, a painting, or everyday life, there is always a layer or two that we don't notice, that we miss. We spend time, we kill time, but can we also stop or slow down to just notice how it flows with peace? And maybe what we need isn't more new content or new things in our life, but just a little bit more time with the things that we already have and love. A little bit more attention. A favorite show, a favorite painting, a favorite street corner you pass every day without noticing. So here's an idea. Next time you're watching something or walking to somewhere, pause. Look again. 'Cause maybe there's something there you missed the first time around.